Hi, I'm Benjamin Hill with Mission Physical Therapy. We teach people fairly often how to stand. I never thought I'd be doing that, but I didn't realize how much just the way that we stand plays into the problems that we have, whether it's in our neck, our feet, our back, or our knees, wherever it may be. But when you stand, if you start down at the feet, okay, a lot of times people will stand on their heels. They don't really use their toes. Even now, just if you stand up and just kind of see where you are, march in place for a moment, and then when you come to a rest, feel in your, take note in your mind where your weight is distributed. Years ago, I had a therapist, just as a demonstration, have me stand on two scales, one foot on one foot on the other. He said, don't look at them. And he said, just shift your weight back and forth and get it right in the middle, right where you feel like the middle is. And when I did that, I was surprised to find that I had 30 pounds more on my left leg than on my right. And then what was also really weird is when I shifted my weight to the center to where the numbers on the scales were equal, I felt like I was leaning to the right heavily. It felt weird. And that's very typical. That's a very typical response that I get from my patients as I go to correct their posture in standing or walking, lifting, getting up and down from a chair, a number of things. But at any rate, when you stand, if you think about your ankle being the pivot point down at your feet of where your movement is, the majority of your foot is in front of that ankle, and only a little bit is behind it in the heel. So you want to put the majority of your weight forward as well too. So I usually tell people try to put 60% on the front end and maybe just 40 on the back, and just make sure your toes are grounded, that you feel all of them. And then make sure your knees are unlocked. It's a lot easier if you keep your knees just slightly unlocked. You want to have your hips back just slightly, just a slight bow forward. You'll find that your tummy engages just a little bit more rather than being tight in your low back, and that's nice. And then make sure your shoulders are down. You don't want to be so rigid this way. Most people go to the opposite of slouching. Everybody knows slouching's bad, but they go to the opposite and they hold really rigid and they don't realize how tight they've made their back. So go there and then back off 10 to 20%, and that's where a more relaxed position is. That's where you'll be more what they call bone stacked if you've been exposed to Pilates training a little bit. You want to be bone stacked so your bones are supporting you. You're not hanging on your joints, nor are you being held up with a rigid, tense posture in your muscles. Both of those are bad. Lastly, I need to point this out now. You can try standing with your legs side by side. You can try standing with one leg forward and one back, in what I might call a sports stance. But don't throw your hip out to the side. Don't do the mom hip like you're holding a baby. That really it's essentially slouching on your hip like you might slouch on your back. And it shuts down some supportive muscles or core muscles in your hip. So you want to avoid that. Hopefully those tips will help you. I'm Benjamin Hill with Mission Physical Therapy.